After the cold card hack, my timeline is flooded with people telling me all the things I need to do now to keep my crypto safe, and this actually pisses me off because for a lot of people, this is extremely dangerous advice. A lot of these recommendations are things that before the hack were only talked about among advanced crypto users, but now people are saying they're the bare minimum. You need to roll dice to create your seed phrase, you need to set up a passphrase, you need to be using multisig. And I'm not upset because these methods don't work. They can increase your security in certain situations, but every one of them also adds more ways for you to permanently lose your crypto. And that side of the conversation is getting completely ignored. So in this video, I'm going to break down what each one of these recommendations actually does, how it can help protect you, and who might consider using it. But I'm also going to show you the risks that come with each one. Then I'll show you the real bare minimum you should be doing to protect your crypto without making it more complicated than it needs to be. Okay, the first recommendation I keep seeing is that you should roll your own dice. Some people even go as far as to say that hardware wallets are completely useless if you aren't doing this. And there's a reason people are saying this, but it all stems from the cold card hack. So let me explain. Your wallet needs randomness, also called entropy, to create keys that protect your crypto. Normally, your hardware wallet would generate the entropy for you, and as a result, you get a secure key. But in the cold card hack, their wallets didn't create strong entropy. Therefore, the keys that stemmed from the entropy were not truly random, and this allowed hackers to use AI to guess the keys and steal Bitcoin. So how does rolling dice solve this? Well, instead of trusting the device to create all the randomness, you create it yourself by rolling dice anywhere from 50 to 100 times, entering each roll into the wallet, and it generates a key based on your input. And if you do it correctly, this can protect you from a bad random number generator inside your hardware wallet. But it assumes two things. One, that your wallet isn't capable of generating a random key on its own, and two, that you won't make a mistake somewhere in the process of rolling your own dice. So it doesn't come without risks. If you choose to roll dice, you are the one responsible for generating that randomness correctly. That means you need fair dice, you need enough rolls, and you need to enter each roll correctly. You also need a device capable of accepting dice rolls, and of course you need the technical know-how to do this. And if you mess it up, you will create a weaker key than the one your hardware wallet can generate for you. So this is not a risk-free solution or even a solution at all. It is simply another method we have to generate our wallet's key. You're replacing one risk, which is that maybe your wallet doesn't generate a truly random key on its own, for another risk, which is maybe you mess up somewhere in the process of rolling dice 50 to 100 times and recording every single roll. But the reality is, regardless of the method you use, whether you let your wallet generate the key or you do it yourself with dice, the final result is the same when done correctly. 50 rolls will give you about 128 bits of entropy or randomness, which is equal to a 12-word seed phrase, and 100 rolls will give you about 256 bits of entropy equal to a 24-word seed phrase, both of which are virtually impossible to guess. So yes, rolling dice can remove some trust from the wallet manufacturer, but it replaces that trust with trust in yourself and your own process. And for an advanced user who understands entropy and wants to reduce their reliance on the wallet's random number generator, this might be a good option. But for the average person, a reputable hardware wallet is more than capable of creating a secure key instantly. That is the foundational job of a hardware wallet device. And if every normal crypto user suddenly needs to become an expert in random number generation just to safely create a wallet, then we have a much bigger problem. The head of product at Trezor said it best. If rolling dice is a requirement for proper self-custody, then we have failed and users will choose different solutions. Simplicity is what will drive self-custody adoption. Unfortunately, the recommendations get even more dangerous from here. The second recommendation I keep seeing is that everyone should be using a passphrase, and to be fair, out of everything on this list, a passphrase is the easiest to use, and I have recommended it myself in certain situations. But if you use it wrong, the consequences are massive. You can permanently lose access to your crypto. Also, passphrases were not invented to make your seed phrase more secure. A 24-word seed phrase is already more than enough. It's impossible to guess a 12 or 24-word seed phrase when it's generated correctly, and these aren't my words. That's a statement from Ledger's Chief Technology Officer, Charles, who's an expert in cryptography and cybersecurity. What a passphrase is good for is plausible deniability. That means if someone threatens you and forces you to give them your seed phrase, you could actually give them your seed phrase without giving up access to all of your crypto. That seed phrase would open a wallet with a small amount of crypto in it to satisfy the person threatening you, while most of your crypto remains in the hidden passphrase wallet. That is why the passphrase feature was actually created, and it works really well for that. It can also work in general, like if someone finds your seed phrase or you give it away, they can't access your passphrase wallet without having both the seed phrase and the passphrase. But assuming you keep your seed phrase secure, using a passphrase is not a requirement. A seed phrase alone is more than enough to protect your crypto. If it wasn't, then the entire crypto industry would fail, because that would mean the underlying technology doesn't work, and that's simply not the case. So what are the risks of using a passphrase? Well, the same thing that makes it secure is also what makes it dangerous. By the way, if you have no idea what a passphrase is, I'll link my video showing what it is, how it works, and how to set one up and manage it yourself down in the description below, so you can watch that later. But here's the TLDR version. Basically, a passphrase lets you add your own word or phrase onto your existing 12 or 24 word seed phrase to create a completely separate hidden wallet. And to gain access to a passphrase wallet, you need both the seed phrase and the passphrase combined. The cool thing about passphrase wallets is you can use letters, numbers, and symbols to create one. They're also case sensitive, so you can make them super random. Also, there's no limit to how many passphrase wallets you can create from one seed phrase. You can literally create an unlimited number of passphrase wallets. And that's actually where the risk comes in. There is no wrong passphrase warning. Every passphrase you enter into a wallet creates a new passphrase wallet or recovers an existing one if you've already created one. Meaning if you forget a character, use the wrong capitalization, accidentally add a space, or simply forget your passphrase completely, then your passphrase wallet will not appear. A new wallet will. And if you lose access to your passphrase or your seed phrase, you lose access to crypto in that passphrase wallet. So yes, a passphrase can protect you if someone else gets your seed phrase, but it also creates another critical secret that you have to protect and recover perfectly, and that's the trade-off. And I know many of you watching this have lost your seed phrase before because you've told me, so I want you to understand that creating a passphrase is the equivalent of having multiple seed phrases that you now have to record and keep track of. So keep that in mind. Also, you don't want to store your passphrase with your seed phrase. So now you have to figure out multiple places to hide this stuff. But if you're organized and want an additional hidden wallet associated with your seed phrase, essentially allowing you to create your own seed phrase, a passphrase is really easy to set up and use. But if you already have trouble keeping track of your seed phrase, or you just don't like seed phrases in general, then this will just become another risk that you have to worry about. Okay, the third recommendation, which I believe is the most dangerous on this list because it's the most complicated, is using a multisig wallet. And just like everything else we've talked about, multisig can absolutely increase your security when done correctly, but it also adds a ton of complexity. And if you don't fully understand what you're doing, you can permanently lose access to your crypto. Multisig basically means instead of having one key that controls your crypto, you need multiple keys to move it. For example, one of the most common multisig setups is called a 2 of 3 multisig. That means you have 3 separate keys or 3 separate wallets, and you need at least 2 of those 3 keys to move your crypto. The benefit is pretty obvious. If someone gains access to one of your wallets or one of your keys, they can't take your crypto because they need another one. So instead of having a single point of failure, you spread that risk across multiple keys. And for certain people, that might be useful. For others, it's just more complicated. For example, if you have millions of dollars in crypto, you run a business, you're securing company funds, or you just understand multisig really well and want to remove some of that single point of failure risk, then it could make sense. But here's the problem. You're taking something that's already pretty simple, which is securing one seed phrase, and turning it into an entire system you now have to manage correctly. Instead of one seed phrase, you might have 2 or probably 3, and instead of one hardware wallet, you have at least 3, but you're also introducing another risk, which is the multisig platform itself. The best example of this is the 2025 Bybit hack. Bybit is a crypto exchange that uses Ledger hardware wallets with the safe multisig platform to secure a portion of their customer funds. But the safe multisig website that they were using was compromised, so Bybit's employees saw what looked like a normal transaction on their Ledger hardware wallets, but the transaction they actually signed was malicious. and that signature changed kind of how the wallet works and allowed the attacker to drain about $1.5 billion of crypto. So the Ledger wallet didn't fail, the multisig itself wasn't broken, the weak point was the software being used to manage the multisig, and that's my point. Multisig can remove one risk, but it can also introduce new ones. And this is a part that I think a lot of people completely leave out when they recommend multisig solutions. So again, I'm not saying multisig is bad or that it doesn't work. It can be a secure solution for the right person, but saying every crypto holder now needs to multisig just to be safe is ridiculous and outright dangerous. This is why I believe multisig setups are best reserved for large companies like crypto exchanges that manage billions of dollars in customer funds and have several operators, because it solves a real problem, which is preventing a single point of failure or a single person, since there are multiple people involved from, moving the crypto around. But for most people who are managing their own crypto at home, a multisig can just create more problems and introduce more risk. And let's not get it twisted. I've worked with hundreds of crypto investors and I've talked with thousands of you here on the channel. And the data shows that the number one reason people lose money in crypto isn't because their wallet was hacked. That almost never happens, at least not with hardware wallets. Cold card was the exception, that is not the norm. The reason 99% of you have lost crypto is due to user error. You lost your seed phrase, you sent crypto on the wrong network, you set your wallet up wrong, you signed a malicious transaction not knowing it was bad. So user error remains the biggest threat in crypto, not hackers. And keep in mind, our job as users isn't to create systems that stop hackers. We leave that to the professionals. Our job is to find and use the best tools we have that match our experience level so we can protect our crypto without making it more complicated than it already is. And I think a lot of us forget that, myself included. All that to say, yes, rolling your own dice, creating a passphrase, and using multisig can help increase security in certain parts of the process, but none of those things are a requirement to protect your crypto. And for the wrong person, they can introduce even more risk, and that's my whole point. So what is the actual minimum required to secure our crypto as we head into 2027, knowing that Cold Card was hacked, AI is a real threat, and more people are trying to find weaknesses in software? What method will actually protect our digital money? Well, it's the same method that has protected crypto since crypto was created: a properly generated key stored offline. That's it. Your key is what gives you control of your crypto, and when that key is generated correctly using enough randomness, it is virtually impossible to guess. That has not changed just because Cold Card got hacked. The problem with Cold Card is that it didn't work as intended. But if you're using a product that works as intended and stores your keys offline, then you're good to go. So simply using a reputable hardware wallet that correctly generates your seed phrase, keeps your keys offline, and lets you safely back up your seed phrase is still the standard for securing your crypto today and moving forward. If your seed phrase is generated correctly and kept private, it is more than enough to secure your crypto for the long term. If it weren't, that would mean crypto as a technology has already failed, and it hasn't. I think the real challenge now is finding a hardware wallet that actually meets these standards, right? Because after what happened with Cold Card, I don't think it's as simple as, hey, just use whatever hardware wallet you want. Now more than ever, it's important to use a wallet that generates strong entropy for you and also gives you the option to use more advanced features like a passphrase or multisig if you decide that's something you want to do. But by no means should those things be a requirement just to have a secure wallet. So if you are looking for a wallet that meets that criteria, I mean, there's plenty of options, but I think Trezor is one of the best options right now. Not only did they invent the hardware wallet and the seed phrase standard that we all use today, but their products are open source, they support passphrases and multi-sig setups, and they're still easy to use. I compare all their wallets in this guide so you can choose the best one that works for you. I'll meet you over there. God bless.